Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prirajakacharya Stotra Tata Shri Srimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prirajakacharya Stotra Tata Shri Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaja Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Nama Acharya Shalharidasa Kaur Ki. Prem Se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Radha Kunda Shama Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dhama Ki. Shri Mayapur Navadip Dhama Ki. Shri Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki. Ganga Mai Ki. Jamuna Mai Ki. Tulasi Devi Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the Son of the devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the Son of the devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the Son of the devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we're continuing here our weekly study of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And we're currently in Adi Lila, chapter 2, which is entitled Lord Chaitanya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we're picking up today on verse number 97, which is on the board. Now, this is, okay, it's by this way, so it'll be difficult to go to other verses quickly. Okay, anyway. Because I was going to also refer to other verses and then some purports for us to read, but then I guess I'll just do it on my own.
We'll have to lie in our ears.
So, okay. Text 97. Krishnera Surupera Hoy Sai Vidyavilas Prabhava Vaibhava Rupe Vidya Prakas Krishnera Surupera Hoy Sat Vidya Vilas Prabhava Vaibhava Rupe Divvidha Prakas Krishnera Sarupera Hai Savidha Vilas Prabhava Vaibhera Rupe Divvidha Prakas Krishnera Sarupera Hai Prabhava Vaibhava Rupe Divvidha Prakas Vaishnavis. Prabhava bhava rupe dhividha prakash. Krishnera sarupe rahai sadvidha vilas. Prabhava vaibhava rupe dhividha prakash. Anyone else want to try? No? Okay. Krishnera of Lord Krishna. Sarupera of the form. There are Satvidha 6 kinds. Vilasa pastime forms. Prabhava Vaibhava Rupe in the divisions of Prabhava and Vaibhava. Dvividha 2 kinds. Prakasa manifestations. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, enjoys himself in 6 primary expansions. His 2 manifestations are Prabhava and Vaibhava. Purport. Now the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita turns to a description of the personality of Godhead Krishna and his innumerable expansions. The Lord primarily expands himself in 2 categories, namely Prabhava and Vaibhava. The Prabhava forms are fully potent like Sri Krishna, and the Vaibhava forms are partially potent. The Prabhava forms are manifested in relation with potencies, but the Vaibhava forms are manifested in relation with excellences. The potent Prabhava manifestations are of 2 varieties, temporary and eternal. The Mohini, Hamsa, and Sukla forms are manifested only temporarily, in terms of a particular age. Among the other Prabhavas who are not very famous, according to the material estimation, are Dhanvantari, Rishabha, Vyasa, Dattatreya, and Kapila. Among the Vaibhava Prakasa forms are Kurma, Matsya, Nara Narayana, Varaha, Hayagriva, Prishnigarbha, Baladeva, Yajna, Vibhu, Satyasena, Hari, Vaikunta, Ajita, Bhamana, Sarvabhauma, Rishabha, Visvaksena, Dharma Setu, Sudharma, Yogeshwara, and Brihad Bhanu. There's the Vishnu Sahasranam, 1,000 names of Vishnu. So it's, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentions in his Shishastakam, Nam Namakari Bahudani Sarva Sakti. So there's so many names, and you see, just by chanting these names of Krishna, it brings actual happiness. I was just a reflection on saying those different names. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Ghananjana Shalakaya Chachurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Patakamanam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shra Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tham Sajivam Savetam Sabdutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padhan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitam Shra He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dhinabandha Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suthe Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nevishesha Shunyavadi Pashatade Shatarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangulanghai Tegini Yakripatam Hambande Shirvati Tarana Krishnera Sarupa Hai Savidha Vilas Prabhava Vaibhava Rupe Dividha Prakas. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, enjoys himself in 6 primary expansions. His 2 manifestations are Prabhava and Vaibhava. So here, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami continues to expand on his authoritatively establishing that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it's really amazing, actually, when we're reading through this particular chapter, and we see, if just trying to think of what was Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami thinking when he was producing the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And particularly this chapter, what comes to mind is that great personalities such as Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami and Trikalagya, which means they can see past, present, and future. So I can imagine Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami sitting in Vrindavan and just looking into the future. And we saw that later on Bhaktivinoda Thakur ran into these issues where the Vaishnavas, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, were seen as just sentimentalists. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was seen as someone really not so important. But here, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami is very authoritatively establishing with many, many quotations from the Bhagavatam and from different Puranas on how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so, we come to this verse, which it is a little more technical than the usual. And so I did a little research, and Srila Prabhupada does explain this in various places in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I'd like to enter as evidence 1 of proving this case of the Prabhava and Vaibhava expansions. It can be found in the Madhya Lila, chapter 20. And these are explanations to Sanatana Goswami. And if you go to verse number 174, we will hear what is said. Okay, 120, 174. So, Vaibhava Prakash Krishnera Sri Balaram Bharna Matra Bheda Sabha Krishnera Samana. The first manifestation of the Vaibhava feature of Krishna is Sri Balaramji. Sri Balaram and Krishna have different bodily colors, but Otherwise, Sri Balaram is equal to Krishna in all respects. Purport. To understand the difference between Swayam Rupa, Tat Ekatma Rupa, Avesha, Prabhava, and Vaibhava, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given the following description. In the beginning, Krishna has three bodily features. One, Swayam Rupa, as a cowherd boy in Vrindavan. Two, Tat Ekatma Rupa, which is divided into Swamsakha and Vilasa. And three, Avesha Rupa, the Swamsakha or expansions of the personal potency are one, Karna Dhakashayi Vishnu, Garbho Dhakashayi, and Shiro Dhakashayi. And two, incarnations such as the fish, tortoise, boar, and Nrsimha. The Vilas Rupa has a Prabhava division, including Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. There is also a Vaibhava division in which there are 24 forms, including the second Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. For each of these, there are 3 forms, therefore. Therefore, there are 12 forms altogether. And he goes on to explain more about those different forms. Then the next verse says, and here Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami then gives an example of what would be a Vaibhava Prakasa. And he says, an example of Vaibhava Prakasa is the son of Devaki. He sometimes has 2 hands and sometimes 4 hands. And Srila Prabhupada explains, when Lord Krishna took his birth, he appeared outside the womb as 4-handed Vishnu. Then Devaki and Vasudeva offered their prayers to him and asked him to assume his 2-handed form. The Lord immediately assumed his 2-handed form and ordered that he be transferred to Gokula on the other side of the river. And then the next verse says, when the Lord is 2-handed, he is called Vaibhava Prakasa. And when he is 4-handed, he is called Prabhava Prakasa. So, in this particular case that's being mentioned here, he appeared as Vishnu's 4-handed form. Then the Vaibhava would be the same personality, then changing to 2-handed form. So that would be the Vaibhava Prakasa in this case. But of course, in other cases, it varies. So, yeah, we can understand that it's very, very interesting, the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And there's many different nuances that we can apply our intelligence to understand. And understanding the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also something that we can apply our intelligence to. And there's a very wonderful verse in the Adi Lila, chapter 8, number 15, that talks about understanding, or what is the correct use of our logic and understanding, and our intelligence as well. And here, it is said, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Dhai Karaha Vichar Vichar Karite Chitte Prabha Chatmakar. If you are indeed interested in logic and argument, kindly apply it to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you do so, you will find it to be strikingly wonderful. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments in this connection that people in general, in their narrow-minded conception of life, create many different types of humanitarian activities. But the humanitarian activities inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are different. What are the activities inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Harinama Sankirtan, yes. For logicians who want to accept only that which is proven through logic and argument, it is a fact that without logic and reason, there can be no question of accepting the absolute truth. Unfortunately, when such logicians take to this path without the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they remain on the platform of logic and argument and do not advance in spiritual life. However, if one is intelligent enough to apply his arguments and logic to the subtle understanding of the fundamental spiritual substance, he will be able to know that a poor fund of knowledge established on the basis of material logic cannot help one understand the absolute truth, which is beyond the reach of imperfect senses. The Mahabharata therefore says, Achintya kalu ye bhava natwams tarkena yojayet. As Mahabharata Bhishma Parva 5:22. How can that which is beyond the imagination or sensory speculation of mundane creatures be approached simply by logic? And in this regard, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would say, how can we measure the potency, I'm paraphrasing, how can we measure the potency of the spiritual energy by the measuring stick of our intellect? How is it possible? And I was hearing Srila Prabhupada the other day. He was saying how the scientists, they think they're so intelligent, but yet who created their tiny brain? He said, He said even if they put all the scientists together, they cannot even create a brain like Einstein. He called him Einstein. Einstein. So here we can see, how can it be possible for us to really understand the purport of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So logic and argument are very poor in spiritual strength and always imperfect when applied to spiritual understanding. By putting forward mundane logic, one frequently comes to the wrong conclusion regarding the absolute truth. And in this case, we can apply Mr. Frog philosophy, where, anybody ever heard of Mr. Frog? Yeah? Connor, can you tell us about Mr. Frog?
Mr. Frog is in a well and doesn't believe that there's a vast ocean beyond the well. And he tries to puff himself up every time and say, oh, is it this big? Is it this big? Is it this big? And it's demonstrating mental speculation and how eventually the thought just explodes because they can't measure the vastness of the ocean.
Yeah, exactly. So for those online, kind of just explained Mr. Frog and how someone came and asked Mr. Frog, or told him that there was a body of water much bigger than his well. And he said, well, is it 2 times bigger than my well? And then he tried to expand himself to that amount. And he kept going until finally he couldn't do it anymore, and he just exploded. So similarly, if we try to logic, just by mundane logic and reason, try to understand the vastness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we can't actually come to the conclusion. And like Srila Prabhupada's godbrother, I forget his name, but when he was traveling in Europe, was it? In Germany? No. It was the German godbrother.
He wrote an excellent book.
Well, the point is that he went to a museum and he was trying to find the Supreme Personality. He said he was looking for God. And then he saw the different forms of some of the demigods. Sadananda Maharaj. And he looked and he saw Lord Shiva and he said, well, that can't be God because it looks like he's working hard and he has a trident. And then he looked at, I think, a form of Durga. But then when he came to the form of Krishna, threefold bending form, Tribhanga, standing, playing the flute, he said, this must be God because he looks like he's having fun and enjoying. And just like, was it Thoreau that said, I only believe in a God that dances? Nietzsche. One of those. Nietzsche. He said, I only believe in a God that dances. So we can see here how you can't really apply our logic to understanding Krishna. But, despite of all this, those who are actually inquisitive to understand the philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through logic and argument are welcome. Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami addresses them. Please put Sri Chaitanya, so this, you can imagine he's saying this to us. Please put Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy on to your crucial test. And if you are actually a logician, you will come to the right conclusion that there is no personality more merciful than Lord Chaitanya. Let the logicians compare all the results of other humanitarian work with the merciful activities of Lord Chaitanya. If their judgment is impartial, they will understand that no other humanitarian activities can surpass those of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everyone is engaged in humanitarian activities on the basis of the body. But from Bhagavad Gita 2:18, we understand antavante imedheha nityasyopta saririnaha. The material body is ultimately subject to destruction, whereas the spiritual soul is eternal. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philanthropic activities are performed in connection with the eternal soul. However, one tries to benefit the body, it will be destroyed, and one will have to accept another body according to his present activities. If one does not, therefore, understand this science of transmigration, but considers the body to be all in all, his intelligence is not very advanced. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, without neglecting the necessities of the body, imparted spiritual advancement to purify the existential condition of humanity. Therefore, if a logician makes his judgment impartially, he will surely find that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a Mahavadanyaya avatar, the most magnanimous incarnation. He is even more magnanimous than Lord Krishna himself. Whoa. Amazing. And how's that? Well, here it says, Prabhupada says, Lord Krishna demanded that one surrender unto him. What was the verse? Just surrender unto me. Right? Krishna is saying that. But he did not distribute love of God as magnanimous as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami offers Lord Chaitanya his respectful obeisances with the words Namo Maha Varanhaya Krishna Prema Pradhayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Ghoda Tvishe Namaha. Lord Krishna simply gave the Bhagavad Gita, by which one can understand Lord Krishna as he is. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is also Krishna himself, gave people love of Krishna without discrimination. So in this regard, we saw how Krishna was instructing Arjuna on the chariot, and he said, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam, you offer me with love a leaf, a flower, water, I will accept it. Tesam Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Pritipuragam, you love me and I'll give you intelligence. Right? So he was telling us how to surrender to Krishna, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu shows us how to surrender to Krishna. So in this regard, what would Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu do? He would go on Harinam Sankirtan. That was his daily activities. And I was hearing the Chaitanya Charitamrita audiobook, and in the Madhya Leela, it's being described how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go on Harinam Sankirtan morning, afternoon, and evening. Wow, that's amazing. And Lord Chaitanya would go out, and he would be in the street. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna, Keshava, Krishna, Keshava, Krishna, Keshava, Pahimam. And like that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would be like a madman, just chanting, dancing, and preaching as well. But the preaching he would do to the classes, he would do to the devotees. But for the masses, he would have prasadam and book distribution. Well, no, book distribution. That just came out automatically. But book distribution we do. But he would have kirtan, which book distribution is an expansion of the kirtan as well. Because when people open up, they read the books, there's Krishna on every page. Now, when I read that in the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, where it said that Krishna's on every page, I thought, how's Krishna on every page? Krishna's speaking on every single page. And Srila Prabhupada pointed out how the Mayavadis are so clever that they've managed to take Krishna away from his own book. But Prabhupada did not do that. And we see in many places Prabhupada would insert the whole Maha Mantra in the purport many times. And it's just like, wow, Prabhupada just putting the whole Maha Mantra in the purport. So we saw Prabhupada wanted to emphasize, of course, the chanting of Hare Krishna, because Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gati Anyata. That in this age there is no other way. There is no other way, there is no other way. And that's actually a good way to start the day. And the Gauranga Prabhu and His Grace Yugal Kishore Prabhu mentioned that he would see Gauranga Prabhu do this, and it's something I've adopted, and I found it very, very helpful. When I wake up, the first thing I do is I chant Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gati Anyata. And then I immediately start chanting japa. And when my Guru Maharaj was at the ILS in Mayapur, I'm a disciple of His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu, and he was talking the ISKCON Leadership Sangha, I think it's called, ILS. And he was talking about one of his godbrothers who doesn't even leave his bed until he's chanted his 16 rounds. He wakes up, chants his 16 rounds, then he starts his day, because he's like, otherwise I'm not able to do anything else. And it's really like this, actually. There's a book, it's a secular book, it's called The One Thing. And this man, he's describing about what's the one thing that if you focus and you do it very nicely, that everything else in your life will become either easier or unnecessary. And for us, as practitioners of Krishna consciousness, and as followers of Srila Prabhupada in particular, our one thing is, particularly what we vow to do at the time of initiation, is our japa. And if we take that one thing and we become so laser focused on having great japa, you will see that the rest of your day, no matter what you're doing, will be exponentially so much greater. And this greatness is going to be in the quality of the consciousness with which you're performing those activities. Because when we talk about consciousness, it's Krishna consciousness. It's, Prabhupada said, first become conscious, then become Krishna conscious. So if we're very consciously chanting Hare Krishna, then we'll be able to do our service in Krishna consciousness throughout the day. Whatever we do, of course, direct Krishna conscious activities are always the best. I know, I was just thinking about it this morning, is how fortunate is it. Now, this is not to say that those that don't have the ability to, the chance to worship the deities are not fortunate. I'm just saying that how fortunate is it that when you do have that chance, you could just be there with Krishna for 2.5 hours in the morning, bathing the form of Radha Krishna, dressing Krishna, and it's just like a hyper-focused meditation. So Krishna is so merciful in that way but the thing I want to point out is that we can do that unconsciously as well. We can be there and just those 2 hours go by, and then it's like, okay, what happened? Like, who was I in front of? Like, you were in front of the Supreme Personality, Godhead. So that's just important to become conscious, and particularly for us, when we're conscious in our japa, then all our other services become enhanced that much the greater. And if we're in our heart of hearts, if we're constantly thinking, how can I serve, how can I serve, how can I serve? And whatever position in life we're in, Krishna will make the arrangement. When I just went back out into the world, the abyss of the material world, I was thinking, I was like, I hope I don't forget Krishna. And of course, entering especially into the business world is cutthroat. There's a book they recommended me to read. How to swim with the sharks and not get eaten alive. And so when I went back into the world, I was thinking, okay, how am I going to stay Krishna conscious? So I'm involved in all these negotiations, and I do real estate, for those who care to know or don't care. But my coach, when we were doing this brand building, she said, okay, you have a brand. You used to be a monk. She's like, that's in. She's like, take that and use it. And so she said, use your marking. Wear it all the time, whatever you're doing. And she even said, when you come do an open house, wear your clothes. So I did last week my first open house in a Dodi, Korta, Tilak, kirtan playing, books on the table to distribute. And just see, I took it as Krishna was speaking through this lady who it's funny because just the previous week she said, yeah, I'm on a carnivore diet. I was like, really? That's interesting. She's like, yeah, I eat mostly meat, but somehow Krishna used her to encourage me in my service, as he can use anyone to encourage the devotee. Because Krishna is in the heart of all, and that's one of his expansions, in which he's in everyone's heart as a super soul. And when we're going out there and interacting with people, we can remember that no matter what covering they have externally, the super soul is there, and Krishna is there, so we can try to connect with them in whatever way possible. So I give out a lot of prasadam. I take prasadam cookies, give out all types of prasadam at the office, and people are appreciating. And in their own time, they'll become devotees. Because once they come in contact with Krishna, Krishna will surely drag them to his lotus feet. They won't have an option. So in one sense, we're committing violence in the best sense of the term, destroying their material life. And so in this way, by applying our intelligence to understanding how we can bring people closer to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, our life will be that much better. And the more we give it, the more we get. So it's explained that the Panchatattva broke open the storehouse of love, and the more they distributed, the more the storehouse got filled. So there's unlimited ways we can expand the Krishna consciousness movement. The pillars being, of course, Harinam Sankirtan, book distribution, prasadam distribution, and preaching activities in general. But whatever we do, we can infuse some of this Krishna Shakti into it, and we will see the effect. It may not be immediate. Of course, living in the jet age, we want everything to happen yesterday, but sometimes things take time. They take some time. It's like, there's a saying, drops a day, wear the stone away. And there's like, in Japan and different places, you can see like these big formations have formed, and it's just over a long period of time, one drop of water, drop, 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 and like that. So we take care of our sadhana in that way every single day. Don't miss a beat. And in this way, we'll remain protected. Because the material energy is scary, actually. And it is very powerful. As Krishna says, Daivi Yeshu Gunamayi, Mama Maya Dhuradyaja, Mameva Depapadete, Mayam Etam Tarantite. He says this divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is very difficult to overcome. But one who surrenders unto me can easily cross beyond it. Easily. And someplace, and then in the 10th canto is mentioned that they can cross over where the material world is shrunk to the water and the hoofprint of a calf once we are surrendering to Krishna in this way. So, Sri Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami is telling us all this so we can understand Krishna. And the ultimate result of that is Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yovati Tatataha Tuktam Deya Purnajamam Haitimam Eti Sarjuna. And this is Krishna's promise, that if we understand Him in truth, His birth and His activities, then we will no longer have to take birth again in this material world. So, show of hands, who wants to take birth again in this material world? Who doesn't want to take birth again in this material world? Okay, so what do you have to do that? Chant good japa and understand Krishna. Yes, yes, yes. So I challenge all of you to, I challenge all of us to take our japa very, very seriously, because this is this is our lifeline. I heard Madhavananda Prabhu one time mention, he said that our japa is our umbilical cord to our spiritual master. So a baby without an umbilical cord in the womb cannot survive. So we can just meditate in that way, that if I don't chant good japa, I'm finished, I'm toast. I'm going to be crushed like Kali Yuga. Okay, that's the class. If anybody has any questions, comments, corrections, or reflections, anything they heard in the class they'd like to repeat back for my benefit.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class, Prabhu. Really nice. One thing I was reflecting on, I know you mentioned this, that when the Mayavadis read the Bhagavad Gita, they're able to remove Krishna from the Bhagavad Gita. You know, just like these are the ancient teachings, and you know, Krishna happened to be speaking them, but more important, you know. So it's true, and I've noticed, like, if you sit down to read Bhagavad Gita and you're thinking, okay, these are Krishna's words, you can connect to it deeper. But I'm thinking that Srila Prabhupada said that devotional service is simple for the simple, and it's complicated for the complicated. So all the things we're doing, somehow we're doing them, but often we're not connecting with them for what they are. Okay, I'm sitting and I'm chanting Krishna's names. You know, it's a simple thing, but how somehow we become disconnected from it. So can you maybe speak on that impersonalism, how it comes in our hearts and how we can get rid of it?
Yeah, so impersonalism. These impersonalistic tendencies, especially here in the Western countries, is due to, the root cause of envy, and the root cause of that is ultimately putting ourselves in the center instead of Krishna. So, if one puts himself in the center rather than Krishna, then it's easy to not see Krishna present in the activity. You'll see yourself. You'll start thinking about, oh, I have to do this, my life is this person did this to me, me. But it's not about me, it's about Krishna. So you can say that's the root cause of it, and that's why Prabhupada translates bhakti as devotional service. That's why doing service is something that then removes us from the center, especially serving other devotees, and because even, you could say even Krishna, even serving Krishna sometimes may be an abstract idea for a lot of us, because it's like, I'm not seeing Krishna and everywhere, but I can see the devotees. The devotees are, especially if you're in the temple, you're surrounded by devotees. You can't avoid them. So, but this is the great fortune of being in the temple and being around devotees, and this is the mentality with which Advaitacharya lives by. And if you live by the mentality of Advaitacharya, you'll be living a good life. Where he says, Chaitanya dhasa mui, Chaitanya dhasa. Chaitanya dhasa mui, Tandra dasera dhasa. I am the servant of Lord Chaitanya, the servant of Lord Chaitanya. I am a servant of Lord Chaitanya and a servant of his servants. So that mentality, that's what, I guess, trying to have the opposite of that is what causes that, is where I want people to serve me. I am the master of the master of the masters. I am the master of the masters, and I want everyone to serve me. That mentality will drive you away from Krishna, very far away. I don't know if that helps. And just to your point, simple for the simple, I was just hearing the other day, Srila Prabhupada was giving class in Los Angeles in 1970. Here, I sent the quote in the group, so I'm just going to read it instead of trying to speculate from my mind. So, okay. So we just, I feel like this is just demonstrating the perfection of simplicity. Here's Srila Prabhupada, he's saying, but Srila Prabhupada is a perfect example for us for everything. And this is a lecture in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.10, and this was on Radhastami in Los Angeles, September 16th, 1972. So Prabhupada says here, so we are advancing in science, But at the same time, the so-called science, at the same time, we are creating many disadvantages, many disadvantages. From practical experience, I say that when I came to your country in India, it is very difficult to get a telephone. You have to wait in the waiting list for at least 2 years, or you have to bribe the authorities and say 5,000, 2,000, like that. So when I got this facility of telephone, because as soon as I deposited $40, the next day the telephone was in my room. So I was very glad. But after getting my telephone, I was disturbed, always. Prabhupada laughed. Some of my students phoning me, telephone sounding, cling, cling, cling. And Swamiji, how are you feeling? At 12 o'clock at night, laughter, yes. So I asked him, is it the time to inquire? I am very sorry, not only one. I became so much disturbed. Then I asked him, get out this telephone. Yes. So Srila Prabhupada, we see, and we can see in the characters of people who are truly saintly, they're very simple. Like we had the blessing to have, the fortune and the blessing to have His Holiness Kavi Chandra Maharaj here with us for almost an entire year. And Maharaj he's just so simple. And I remember this one instant that really struck me, that I just realized how humble Maharaj actually is. And this day we were going upstate, and it was like a Friendsgiving. So it was just a couple devotees. We were going we were all just kind of hanging out. We were going to have kirtan and prasadam. And Maharaj, he said, oh, you're going somewhere? I said, oh yeah, Maharaj, we're going upstate. We're just going to be just a few devotees. We're just getting together. And he looked at me, he said, can I come? And I was kind of like, what do I say? I was like, well, Maharaj, it's just going to be a few of us, and we won't be able to properly honor you. And he goes, this is nonsense. You know what, people think I'm a big guru, big GBC, this and that. I just want to be with the devotees. And I asked him, Maharaj, how many disciples are you? I said, like 2,000, I don't know, 2,000. So we see such an amazing personality, but so humble and so simple. And then I remember Maharaj, he stayed with us when we had the ashram on 152nd Street. And one day he said, I can't eat any of the food you cook, so I'll cook for myself. And so he was staying in the guest room upstairs, and Maharaj, what he did was he took a water heater, a water kettle, and he just threw some dal in there. And he just cooked the dal in there, had it with some salt. And he said, yeah, I'll just eat this. So, anyways, I got sidetracked him. Good.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. I just want to appreciate this class that you gave. Taking this verse from understanding Krishna's, different forms and understanding different philosophy, and then you kind of laced into how actually we can't even understand logic with our own intellect. It comes through sadhana, and it comes through mercy, and it comes through actually endeavoring to understand through the process of bhakti. And I just was really appreciating, and I was thinking of this verse, Yasya deve para bhaktir yata deve tatagara tasyate kadita hirta prakashante mahatmanaha, that, to one who has implicit faith in Guru and Krishna, the entirety of the purports of the Vedas are revealed to him. And how you're emphasizing, japa in itself, that it's the stronger our japa is, that means also the stronger our faith is. Like you said it, I think you said it maybe like not intentionally, but you were saying how, we have to know Krishna, or Mother Devyangi was saying we have to chant japa, and then you said, well, we have to also know Krishna. And actually your spiritual master was just saying this also a couple weeks or months ago when he was here, that you have to cultivate sambandha gyan simultaneously along with chanting good japa, and that's like the 1-2 punch. And so the more we do that, the more our shraddha will increase, and then the better our sadhana will be, because it's all just this entire process is just the growth of shraddha. So I'm just really appreciating how you tied in this whole understanding, this like Prakash and Vaibhav expansions. Like it's very difficult philosophically sometimes to understand all these intricacies, but then you're saying actually naturally these can be understood through deeper sadhana. and through chanting and performing the Yuga Dharma. So thank you. That was really
It's
nice.
like we hear how Yogeshwara is the name of Krishna, which is the supreme mystic. So ultimately, Krishna can give us the intelligence. I mean, as I quoted the verse kind of, jokingly, but at the same time, Tesam satadi yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadhami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serve me with love, I give the intelligence by which they can come to me. So that is very true. And we can see it in our own lives, how we can examine our own lives. Why did I decide to do this instead of that? Why did I decide to come to the temple? Why did I decide to pick up that book? Why did I decide to go, to that town versus here? That's because we had some inkling, some awakening of wanting to understand something higher, and then Krishna started to guide us. I remember Bhakta Aiden. A few years ago, he came, long hair, really cool guy. And then he took up the process of Krishna consciousness. Now he's Narada Muni, Prabhu. And, great pujari, great kirtanier, great devotee all around. And so that's the way the magic works. The magic sauce. It's like yogurt. Anybody ever make yogurt? Yeah? Can you, maybe Jayananda can explain to us the process of making yogurt. Uh-huh.
And then you'll boil the milk.
Uh-huh.
And let it cool down to room temperature. And you put the culture.
And you just put the culture. You just add a little bit of culture, and then that whole pot will transform into yogurt. So similarly, that's what we say to people. No, just a little bit. They're just coming around, start coming around the devotees. No, just a little. Just take a little prasadam. Don't worry about it. It's not that big. It's a little prasadam. Chant one mantra, and then next thing you know, a blaze of bhakti. Okay, I like to follow the clock, so it's 9 o'clock, and we'll have to end here. And I appreciate all your time today, dear Vaishnavas. Please pray for me that I can continue to follow the orders of my spiritual master and serve the devotees with my heart and soul. Hare Krishna. Manchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Antakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.